Once again, when I opened my eyes, I found myself back on the day when my sister-in-law refused a cesarean section. This time, I kept my head bowed, engrossed in playing with my mobile phone, not uttering a single word. Ching ching, you are highly educated and understand a great deal of reasoning. Hasten to persuade your sister-in-law. Moreover, mom's talk about dragon babies or not is all superstitious nonsense. It's not to be believed. The safety of both mother and child is of utmost significance. In the hospital room, my brother, in a state of great urgency, urged me to persuade my sister-in-law to agree to a cesarean section. For during the prenatal examination, the doctor detected that the fetus had a nuchal cord, which was extremely dangerous. In severe cases, it could lead to fetal hypoxia, difficult labor or even death. Hence, the doctor recommended the operation. However, my sister-in-law disagreed. Firstly, she was afraid that a cesarean section would leave an unsightly scar on her abdomen. Secondly, she had recently been addicted to scrolling through short videos. She constantly came across various posts stating that dragon babies were lucky stars, even true dragon emperors. Thus, she was determined to give birth to a dragon baby to enjoy great wealth and prosperity. My sister-in-law was adamant about waiting until the year of the dragon to give birth, while it was merely the minor New Year at that time, and there were still several days until the Lunar New Year's Day. My mother was equally superstitious, firmly believing in the auspiciousness of dragon babies. She also perused all sorts of pseudo-scientific articles in chat groups every day. She insisted that babies born by cesarean section were not as intelligent as those born vaginally, and that the doctor's recommendation of a cesarean section for my sister-in-law was just to extort more money, with ill intentions. Unable to persuade them, my brother could only ask me, the one with the highest educational attainment in the family, to step in and convince them. In the previous life, I earnestly tried to persuade my sister-in-law and my mother. Safety should come first. In our country, there are at least tens of millions, or even hundreds of millions of people born in the year of the dragon. Yet not all of them are wealthy and prosperous. Whether a person can succeed depends on their own efforts. External factors such as the environment, Chinese zodiac signs, and constellations have no relation to it at all. Meanwhile, I specifically searched for numerous examples of the harm caused by nuchal cord to the fetus, and showed them to my mother and sister-in-law. Eventually, I managed to make my sister-in-law agree to choose a cesarean section. Ultimately, both mother and child were safe. But later, every time my sister-in-law saw the scar on her abdomen, she would blame me for giving her a bad idea, claiming that it prevented her from wearing crop tops. Especially when her best friend gave birth. The fetus also had a nuchal cord. However, her best friend did not have a cesarean section, but patiently waited for a few days. The fetus turned around on its own in her best friend's womb, and she gave birth vaginally. Her best friend's child, born half a year later than my nephew, was a real dragon baby. As my best friend's dragon baby and my nephew attended kindergarten, primary school, and junior high school together, my nephew was constantly outperformed by the other. My sister-in-law was extremely jealous without thinking. This was because my nephew had mediocre aptitude and was lazy and unmotivated later in life. Instead, she put all the blame on me. She said that I had disrupted my nephew's fate, causing him to miss the opportunity to be a dragon baby, and thus be inferior in every way. My mother also added fuel to the fire. All your studies have been in vain. What was most exasperating was my brother. Initially, it was he who asked me to persuade my sister-in-law to have a cesarean section. He had vowed that the idea of a dragon baby bringing good fortune was nonsense. So in the first few years, when my mother and sister-in-law complained about me, my brother would stand up for me. However, later on, due to lottery tickets, his attitude changed. My elder brother didn't have much ability and couldn't earn a large sum of money, so he pinned all his hopes of achieving sudden wealth overnight on buying lottery tickets. He rarely even won 5 yuan. It seemed that he had resigned himself to his fate. There is a common psychology among lottery players. That is, when they read in the newspaper that a stranger has won a jackpot of hundreds of millions, they would only feel envious. If anyone among the people I know won tens of thousands of yuan, I would feel jealous and wonder why it wasn't me, and what made that person deserve it. My elder brother also had such thoughts. He had a lottery buddy with whom he often bought lottery tickets together, calculated the probabilities together, and neither of them could win anything. Yet they could still console each other. However, in the year when my nephew turned 1 year old, that lottery buddy's luck changed for the better. He suddenly won a huge jackpot of 10 million yuan. My elder brother was consumed by jealousy and became green with envy. We agreed to wallow in misery together, but you secretly managed to pull through. And this stroke of luck happened to belong to the husband of my sister-in-law's best friend, the father of Long Bao. So my elder brother firmly believed that the 10 million yuan was the fortune brought by Long Bao. He originally should have had this good fortune too, because his son was also born in the year of the dragon. It was all ruined by me. I turned a promising golden dragon into a rabbit. Now, I am the only sinner in the whole family. My nephew, who grew up in such an environment, also found a perfect scapegoat. Whenever anything went wrong for him, he would blame it on me, his aunt. Son, originally you were a baby born in the year of the dragon, destined for great wealth and honor. It was your aunt who ruined your fate and made you so mediocre. My nephew also thought that I owed him, and that I should be responsible for his food, clothing, and daily expenses. He extorted me like a vampire. I couldn't bear it any longer and told him to get lost, or I would call the police. That wretch actually went so far as to strangle me in his madness. Thinking of this, I calmly put down the mobile phone on which I was playing the Link Link game. What a joke. I'm not even married yet, and I know nothing about having children. My elder brother got angry and scolded me for being useless. I was annoyed by the noise and left the hospital directly. My elder brother was furious in the hospital, but in the end, he still couldn't persuade the two women to change their minds. Come to think of it, this was also because my elder brother was too unsuccessful in his personal life. So my sister-in-law had never truly respected him from the bottom of her heart. A few days later, on the 29th day of the 12th lunar month, there was a turn of events. Among pregnant women, the phenomenon of umbilical cord around the neck is relatively common. Some cases require a cesarean section, otherwise it will be very dangerous. In some cases, the fetus can free itself during fetal movement. It doesn't affect the delivery, just like the situation that my sister-in-law's best friend encountered. The doctor suggested that my sister-in-law have a cesarean section, just considering the safest option, and not wanting the parturient to take risks. The fetus in my sister-in-law's belly also freed itself, and the danger was averted. My sister-in-law was overjoyed, and looked very proud. My mother was so excited that she knelt down and kowtowed to the heavens. They all believed that this baby was a naturally born dragon baby, destined for great wealth and honor. For my elder brother, he considered something more practical. A natural childbirth wouldn't leave a scar on his wife's belly, and the cost was also cheaper, so of course he was delighted. Fireworks resound, bidding farewell to the old year, and the dragon soars across the 4 seas to welcome the new Lunar New Year. The year of the dragon has arrived. At 8:18 a.m. on the first day of the Lunar New Year, my sister-in-law gave birth to a baby boy through natural childbirth. The whole family was overjoyed. My mother went to the temple to give thanks to the gods, claiming that this was not only a dragon baby, but also the dragon's head, of inestimable value. Moreover, being born at this time, it was certain that he would be prosperous in the future. My mother gave my sister-in-law an 80,000 yuan red envelope as a reward, praising her as the great hero of our family. Seeing that there was no smile on my face, my mother was displeased. Our family has a magnificent dragon baby. Why aren't you celebrating? You ungrateful girl. You're clearly an outsider, not on our side. Looking at my mother's jiggling face, my heart grew even colder. Since I was young, my mother had always been biased towards boys. I studied hard to prove that I was no worse than boys, hoping to be the pride of the family. My brother only got into a junior college, while I was admitted to a top 985 university. However, my mother belittled and suppressed me even more to prevent me from getting arrogant. Especially after my father passed away, my mother became even more extreme, saying that now my brother was the head of the family, and that if I was too picky, my brother would lose face. It's ironic that the ones who look down on women the most in this world are often women themselves. As time passed, my nephew gradually grew up. He was a child overly spoiled by my mother and sister-in-law, acting like a little tyrant and emperor at home, doing whatever he pleased. When he was in kindergarten, he urinated on the classroom floor. When the kindergarten teacher tried to educate him, my mother went to the kindergarten and pulled the teacher's hair, making a scene. Don't you know that my grandson is a celestial dragon son? Dragon son's urine is extremely nourishing, not to mention urinating on the ground. If it were to go into your mouths, anyone who could take a sip would consider it a great fortune. Not asking you for money is already a kindness. How dare you educate our celestial dragon son? When my nephew reached primary school, it was even more difficult for him to adapt. He was disorganized and undisciplined, had trouble concentrating, and had no respect for teachers. He centered everything around himself. Skipping school and being absent from classes were common occurrences, and his grades were consistently at the bottom. My sister-in-law attended the parents' meeting. The teacher was very responsible and told my sister-in-law that she must correct my nephew's bad habits, otherwise the child's future would be worrying. My sister-in-law got angry and actually complained about the teacher, saying that the teacher was bullying my nephew and vowing that her son was a child prodigy, a genius, and that an ordinary teacher like this was not qualified to teach her son. My sister-in-law was not joking or speaking out of anger. She truly believed that her son was a child prodigy. The reason was that in those years, there were many educational training courses in our city, under the guise of whole brain development. In such training courses, through quantum science-based professional courses, one could read with eyes closed, read quickly, have a photographic memory, change colors with eyes covered, become a poet in 7 days, and in short, become a child prodigy with unlimited prospects. Such courses were naturally not cheap, costing tens of thousands of yuan. My sister-in-law was very willing to invest and sign my nephew up for the courses. In the previous life, she also intended to do this, but I stopped her. I studied media. I was aware of many such scams. Unscrupulous merchants took advantage of parents' eagerness for their children to succeed, using a bunch of mysterious concepts like supersensory imagination, the book of no words for right brain development, identifying objects with eyes covered, quantum, wave, speed reading, etc. to deceive people. In essence, it was no different from street-level swindles, and was of no use at all. In the previous life, under my persuasion, my sister-in-law did not sign my nephew up, so there was no chance of being scammed. Later, this became one of the major charges against me for ruining my nephew's future. I not only failed to make my nephew a dragon baby, but also delayed his becoming a child prodigy. So in this life, I just need to keep my mouth shut. Anyway, it's not my money being swindled. My sister-in-law spent nearly 100,000 yuan in total to let my nephew study in the child prodigy training class. After signing up for the primary level class, the training class teacher said that my nephew had an extraordinary bone structure and was a super child prodigy. He had to pay more money to participate in more advanced courses to fully develop my nephew's potential. After the training was completed, the training class issued a certificate to my nephew, stamped with the official seal of the United Nations Genius Recognition Association, swearing that a genius like my nephew was destined to be extremely successful in the future. The teacher also specifically told my sister-in-law not to care about my nephew's usual exam scores. This kind of exam-oriented education was for assessing ordinary people and had no effect on a child prodigy like my nephew. The lower my nephew's scores in school exams, the more it proved his amazing talent. If my nephew got high scores in ordinary exams, it would mean that his talent had regressed. My sister-in-law believed it and hung the certificate in the middle of the living room, smiling from ear to ear every day. Whenever there were guests, she would ask my nephew to perform the 2G of reading with eyes covered and identifying colors with eyes covered. Reading with eyes covered meant that my nephew could read the words in a book while wearing an eye mask, and identifying colors with eyes covered meant that he could distinguish the colors of color cards by touch. This showed that my nephew had developed super perception. Many outsiders were shocked by my nephew's amazing feats. Only I knew the secrets behind them. The eye mask for reading with eyes covered had a gap, so one could still see outside when wearing it. The color cards for identifying colors with eyes covered had different smells, and different colors could be distinguished according to the smells. It was all tricks of swindlers. I saw through it but didn't expose it, and even bought a cake for my nephew to celebrate his great achievement. My nephew was already en share, and being constantly told that he was a dragon baby child prodigy made him even more arrogant and narcissistic, looking down on teachers and classmates. What's the use of studying? Unlike me, I'm destined for great wealth in the future. People around him ignored him. Later, when my nephew entered junior high school, not only did he not show any signs of being a child prodigy, but he couldn't even do arithmetic within 100. And those child prodigy training classes were successively exposed by the media and shut down by relevant departments. My sister-in-law finally realized that she had been scammed and no longer had the nerve to ask my nephew to perform his tricks. The certificate issued by the United Nations was also thrown away as waste paper. My sister-in-law instead complained, "I don't know how you studied. Why didn't you remind me back then?" I coldly replied with 2 words. At this time my sister-in-law became anxious about my nephew's grades and forced him to study. However, my nephew had been left to his own devices for too long and had no intention of studying. He made a big fuss every day, throwing things and smashing things. My mother protected him on the side, and in the end, nothing came of it. When my nephew was in the 3rd year of junior high school, my sister-in-law had a new goal, which was to make my nephew a child star. Because there were many child star training camps emerging in society, claiming that as long as a child was packaged by them, the child could enter the entertainment industry. Of course, these were all scam companies, specifically targeting parents with star dreams for their children, setting traps. Regardless of whether the child had any talent or not, they would lavish praise, saying that the child had extraordinary acting talent and would be able to outshine Lu Dehua and Lang Chaowei in the future. Their purpose was to collect exorbitant training fees. Even the uglier and more peculiar looking the child was, the more they welcomed them, because they could also charge sky-high plastic surgery fees. For example, my nephew, who was plain looking and had an underbite, became a superstar embryo in the mouths of the people from the acting company. They coaxed my sister-in-law to pay 500,000 yuan. They would take my nephew to country H, first for plastic surgery, and then for trainee training, promising that he would become a top-tier child star in China after returning, and later a top-tier celebrity, with countless movie endorsements and announcements, earning 5 million yuan a day with ease. But where could they get 500,000 yuan? My sister-in-law didn't have it herself, so she started to have designs on me. "You're almost 30 and not married yet. You must have saved a lot of money, right? You don't need it. Take it out to fulfill your nephew's star dream. When one person attains the Tao, even his chickens and dogs rise to heaven. In the future, when your nephew becomes a big star, you'll have a good life. He will definitely be filial to you. In the previous life at this time, I was actually already married. I got married very early, but my marriage was not happy. My husband was a selfish person. After marriage, I was nothing but wronged and oppressed. I got married in a hurry in the previous life because of my unhappy family of origin, so I was eager for security. Unfortunately, the person I met was not the ideal partner. In this life, I've seen things clearly. A woman should live for herself. Relying on the security provided by a man is like a mirage. In this life, I'd rather not get married for the rest of my life. Moreover, in this life, I already have enough wealth to support my carefree life. Although the protagonists in rebirth novels can quickly get rich when they return to the past, such as speculating in real estate, buying stocks, hoarding bitcoins, etc., it seems that reborn people, knowing future information, can make money more easily than picking it up. But that's just a novel. I'm just an ordinary girl. In the previous life, I had nothing to do with the financial industry. I had no idea which stocks would rise. Speculating in real estate requires a large amount of capital, and I don't understand the technology of bitcoins. Some people say you can buy lottery tickets, but the problem is, can you predict which day you will be reborn? And deliberately remember the winning numbers of each lottery draw? No normal person would do that, and neither would I. But fortunately, I at least remember the numbers of a certain winning lottery ticket. The one in the previous life when my brother's friend won 10 million yuan. My brother was like Xiangling's wife, chattering on and on about it. So I memorized it even though I didn't want to. Coincidentally, the draw for that issue is next week. In the previous life, that brother's friend only bought one ticket and won the first prize of 10 million yuan. Guess how many tickets I'll buy this life? I bought 200 tickets. So in a week, I will win 2 billion yuan. After deducting taxes, I can still get 1.96 billion yuan. In fact, I could buy more like 1,000 tickets or something. But I won't be so greedy. Standing out too much will bring trouble. Also, there is a limit to the amount of bonus one can claim. So buying 200 tickets is the best plan, I found after considering both benefits and safety. Hearing what we said, I smiled. Sister-in-law, look at what you're saying. Exactly, because I don't want to get married. I need to save money for my old age. Otherwise, who will take care of me when I'm old? Oh, didn't I say that in the future when your nephew makes it big, he will take care of you? I'll be lucky if he can take care of himself and you. I refused my sister-in-law. In the previous life, when facing my sister-in-law's request, since I was already married and didn't have that much money, but still couldn't bear her pestering, I gritted my teeth and scraped together 50,000 yuan for her. In this life, I'm not married and I have hundreds of thousands of yuan in savings. But I decided to be a miser and not give a single cent. I just refused. My sister-in-law got angry. Little sister-in-law, why are you so selfish? Are we still a family? My son is the only male in our family, the one to carry on the family line. Who else should you think about if not him? You're not even married yet, and you're already alienated from us. If you get married, will you completely abandon this family? You're such an ungrateful person. My brother and my mother also came to persuade me. Ching, when your brother has money in the future, he will definitely pay you back. Well, brother, you've borrowed 50,000 or 60,000 yuan from me before. Pay that back first. Let's settle the old debts before talking about new ones. My brother blushed and had nothing to say. Because he never won the lottery, he often fought with my sister-in-law. My sister-in-law strictly controlled his wallet. But my brother loved to show off and liked to pay the bill outside. The deficits were all filled by asking me his sister. He said it was a loan, but never paid back a single cent. I was stupid before, but in the future, I won't give these people another chance to suck my blood. You ungrateful girl. How can you talk to your brother like that? Your brother is the head of the family. It's only right for him to ask you for money. I've decided. You'll pay this 500,000 yuan. If it's not enough, go borrow it. Don't say anything else. My mother still wanted to exploit me. How ridiculous. Mom, I'm already an adult. You can't make decisions for me anymore. I won't pay. I directly retorted. Oh, you unfilial wretch. I raised you so big, and you dare to disobey me. My mother came up to hit me, but I dodged. Give me money. I want to be a star. Your money is mine. My nephew pounced on me like a tiger. In the previous life, I was always kind to this nephew. My mother, brother, and sister-in-law were unreasonable, but I always thought that the child was innocent. Especially after I got married and had a cold relationship with my husband and never had my own child. I really treated my nephew as if he were my own. After my nephew grew up, because of his low education, his job was always unstable, and I did my best to support him materially. To spare him from hardship, I even intended to introduce a girlfriend to him. However, instead of earning my nephew's gratitude, my efforts became evidence of my crime, of ruining his luck. My nephew firmly believed that I felt guilty, and that all my kindness was an attempt to atone for my sins, which was why I treated him so well. He took my offerings for granted and later became extremely penjure. He thought that everything I did as an aunt was deserved, and that I should serve him like a servant all my life. He became increasingly greedy, always wanting more, and his desires kept growing. My husband was inherently selfish. Due to my excessive concern for my natal family, he often quarreled with me, and even had an affair outside as an excuse. Eventually we got a divorce. Although the money I used to support my natal family was all earned by myself, and I was always generous to my husband's family. After the divorce, my nephew still showed no understanding of the difficulties I faced as a divorced aunt. He demanded that I buy him a house and a car, and he disliked the girls I introduced to him, deeming them too ordinary. He became infatuated with an internet celebrity and asked me to fund him to become the top donor. When I couldn't meet his demand and hoped he could come to his senses and find a girlfriend based on reality, pointing out that such an internet celebrity would never look at him and was just playing with him, that brute, out of shame and anger, actually strangled me. "Aunt, you ruined my true dragon destiny, and I want your life." These were the words my nephew roared in my ear when he committed the crime in the previous life. I died with my eyes wide open, full of resentment. Having died once, I have thoroughly recognized my nephew's true nature. In the previous life, he was born in the year of the rabbit, and in this life, he was born in the year of the dragon. But it doesn't really matter which year he was born in. He has always been a heartless person, like a wolf cub. I slapped my nephew across the face. "Try hitting me if you dare." At this time, my nephew was not yet an adult, unlike when he killed me in the previous life at the age of 19, when he was strong and ruthless. He was too scared to move after being slapped by me, covering his face with eyes full of hatred. "Hey, how dare you hit my precious bow? You girl, I'll fight you to the death." My mother and sister-in-law, with their hair in disarray, were ready to fight me. I ignored them and slammed the door as I left. In the following days, I noticed that my mother and brother were acting very sneaky. As expected, when I came back after going out one day, I found that the door of my bedroom had been pried open, and my bank card was gone without a trace. It was my salary card, which contained all my savings since I started working, about over 300,000 yuan. "Give me the card back or I'll call the police." I shouted at them. "You were born by me, and it's perfectly justified for me to take your money. I don't believe the police would dare to arrest me. Tell me the password now." My mother looked confident and fearless. My brother remained silent, and my sister-in-law had a smug look on her face. My nephew was playing with his newly bought game console in his room. "I've installed cameras in the house. I'm going to call the police right now. That's hundreds of thousands of yuan. You'll be waiting to go to jail." Hearing me say this, my sister-in-law was obviously panicked. My brother got angry. "Ching, we're all family. Why do you have to be so heartless?" I was also enraged. "I don't want to be part of this family anymore. Let's just lay everything out on the table today. If you want me not to call the police, give the card back to me." My mother was so angry that she started jumping up and down. "You've grown wings now and want to fly away? Believe it or not, I'll kick you out of this house and sever our mother-daughter relationship." My mother resorted to her trump card again. But now, I actually couldn't wait to leave this suffocating family of my origin. "Fine, I'll leave right now. Don't worry, I don't want anything. Also, I'll tell you one more thing. That card is empty. I've already transferred the money away. From now on, we'll go our separate ways and be completely done with each other." After being reborn, I had been waiting for this opportunity to cut ties. I always kept a suitcase by my bed, ready to leave at a moment's notice. When I told them there was no money in the card, my brother was also anxious. Ching, you're so heartless. When I get rich in the future, don't come crawling to me and begging for help. I have a hunch that I'm going to win the lottery jackpot." My sister-in-law also shouted, "That's right. My son will become a big star sooner or later. After that, don't come to our door asking for food." "I wish you all your wishes come true," I said as I pulled my suitcase and left without hesitation. I could still hear my mother's crying and cursing in the corridor. "What evil deeds have I done? You heartless wretch. If you have the guts, don't come back. Just pretend I never gave birth to you." I knew that my mother's crying was more about performing for the neighbors than truly scolding me. My mother had always been a person with a performative personality. A week later, the lottery results were announced, and I received 1.96 billion yuan. Although I didn't know much about real estate speculation, in the previous life, I knew the routes of the newly built subways in this city. So I took out 60 million yuan and bought 10 houses in one go, all located along the subway lines. The remaining 1.9 billion yuan was deposited in the bank. I'm an easily contented person. I won't engage in any investment or start a business. I'll just earn interest honestly. The greatest advantage of having money is that I can truly do the job I want and live the life I desire. I used to work for a newspaper. It was not only tiring, but I also often had to write reports that I didn't truly believe in, and my editor-in-chief would shamelessly take the credit for my work by claiming the authorship. I had endured enough of that. I like watching movies. After achieving financial freedom, my greatest hobby is writing movie reviews. I know that writing movie reviews now is purely out of passion and doesn't make money, but in a few years, with the rise of self-media, it might turn out to be a very promising career. At the same time, local news caused a sensation in the city. Someone had won the first prize with 200 tickets, and the total bonus was 2 billion yuan. The mysterious winner had already claimed the prize. My brother's friend still won 10 million yuan. Things in this life had changed compared to the previous life. In the previous life, my brother was extremely envious and jealous of his friend. Unable to come to terms with it, he shifted the blame onto me, saying that because my nephew was not a dragon baby while his friend's son was, he didn't win the lottery, and his friend won 10 million yuan. He claimed that I had ruined his fortune. In this life, not only was my nephew not a dragon baby, but also considered the dragon's head. So my brother couldn't use this as an excuse anymore, and couldn't vent his anger on me. His mindset became even more unbalanced. He actually went to his friend and said that since they had been buying lottery tickets together for so many years, and were partners, they should share both the good and the bad times. He demanded that his friend give him half of the bonus, thinking it was only right. My sister-in-law was equally shameless. Since her friend's wife was her best friend, she also went to their house to ask for a share of the money. Naturally, the other party refused. My brother and sister-in-law were driven out, making a complete fool of themselves and becoming the laughingstock of others. As for me, I kept the news of my winning 2 billion yuan a closely guarded secret. Buying the 10 houses was also done secretly. I was afraid that if this money-hungry couple found out, they might even threaten to set themselves on fire to extort money from me. My nephew still went to country H, just like in the previous life, so his ending wouldn't be any different. The 500,000 yuan for the training fees and plastic surgery costs in both lives was the money that forced my mother to sell the house. In fact, in the previous life by this time, although I knew that the idea of becoming a star was nonsense, I didn't want to persuade them anymore, for fear that my well-intentioned advice would be ignored. After my mother sold the house, my sister-in-law refused to let my mother live with them. In the end, my mother shamelessly moved into my house. At that time, I was already having a divorce with my husband in the previous life, and my mother's arrival completely sealed the deal. In this life, my mother's decision to sell the house has nothing to do with me. I didn't ask or care about it. And when my homeless mother contacted me again, wanting to live in my house, although I had several properties, I didn't want to provide her with a place to stay. I'll give you 500 yuan a month. You can rent a place to live. I can't do anything more for you. This was the last bit of kindness I showed my mother out of consideration for our blood relationship. She pleaded with me, asking if I could give her more, saying that 500 yuan wasn't enough. When you threatened to throw me out onto the street several times when I was a child, I didn't even have 5 yuan on me. My mother had nothing to say. In fact, my mother still had a pension. With the 500 yuan I gave her, it wasn't enough to buy a house, but it was enough to rent a decent place. However, later I heard from relatives that my mother was living in a basement that had no ventilation and no natural light. It was dark and damp, and the monthly rent was only 200 yuan, and my sister-in-law had already taken away my mother's pension bank card. My relatives sighed, saying that my mother was pitiful. Between the lines, they were suggesting that I, as a daughter, should care about my mother. I just smiled. Those who are pitiful often have something hateful about them. If I feel sorry for others, who will feel sorry for me, who died in the previous life? In the previous life, it was my nephew who killed me, but my mother, my brother, and my sister-in-law were all accomplices. 3 years later, I was 36 years old, and my nephew was exactly 18. He returned from country H. In these 3 years, my nephew participated in the so-called artist training in China, and the money spent was far more than 500,000 yuan, because that 500,000 yuan was only enough for my nephew's plastic surgery and the training fees for the first year. After that, the annual training fees were 300,000 yuan. My sister-in-law was already in a difficult situation. In the end, she had to sell their own house to get through these 3 years for my nephew. But what did my nephew gain? That so-called acting training company couldn't even rank in China. It was just a fly-by-night company. The so-called training was just a deception. They just hired some recited artists and college students from country H to teach singing and dancing. And my nephew had no talent to begin with. After being trained haphazardly for 3 years, the only thing he was good at was playing online games superbly. But he couldn't perform well in singing or dancing. Originally, that company was supposed to provide training for 5 years, but it went bankrupt in the 3rd year. My nephew could only slink back to China in disgrace. Fortunately, it was only 3 years. If it had been 5 years, my sister-in-law's family would have had to beg on the streets. My nephew had no real ability, but he had been brainwashed as a dragon baby, a genius, and a child prodigy since he was a child. He was extremely arrogant and narcissistic, with no self-awareness at all. He didn't even have the sense to look at himself and realize his own flaws. After returning to China, he wanted to enter the entertainment industry and become a star. But without any talent, resources, or connections, how could he enter the entertainment industry? It wasn't a public restroom. The most crucial thing was that although my nephew wasn't exactly a handsome guy and had an underbite, he wasn't an ugly man either. However, the plastic surgery he had in country H cost a lot of money, but he encountered a shady clinic. In the first 3 years after the surgery, he looked quite good, with the popular pretty boy look. But soon after he returned to China, the after effects of the surgery appeared. His face became stiff, his nose collapsed, and his eyes became uneven, one big and one small like yin-yang eyes. He could only cover his eyes with sunglasses. So when my nephew went to an acting agency with his resume, he was directly rejected by the supervisor, and the security guard at the door wouldn't even let him in. My nephew was deeply affected by this rejection, and became even more eccentric and violent. He developed the habits of smoking and drinking heavily, and he looked like a mess, neither human nor ghost. At the end of the year, the largest entertainment agency in China, Qingtian Entertainment, held an extremely grand boy group audition. My nephew shamelessly signed up for it. Although he was eliminated during the audition, his appearance was not comparable to that of the artists of Qingtian Entertainment, let alone those popular celebrities. Even the husky raised by Qingtian Entertainment was more famous than my nephew. My nephew's mindset had completely distorted. At this time, he couldn't accept that he was rejected because of his own insufficient conditions. Instead, he developed a persecution complex, believing that everyone outside was targeting him. In country H, he didn't learn anything good in 3 years, but he picked up a lot of the stubborn and sinister traits of the people there. My nephew brought my mother to the headquarters of Qingtian Entertainment and made her kneel down, holding a banner to protest, claiming that there were hidden rules in the audition. This immediately attracted the attention of many media and netizens, causing a negative impact. President, what do you think we should do about this? The producer of the talent show rushed to me in a hurry to ask for instructions. Because I am the executive president of Qingtian Entertainment. In recent years, I have also been developing my career. After having a solid financial foundation, at first, I was as carefree as a wild crane, writing movie reviews online. Then, I suddenly realized that after being reborn, although I don't understand finance, I know everything about the entertainment industry. I know which movies will be popular, which stars will become famous, which songs will spread throughout the streets and alleys, which TV dramas will set viewing records. I also know that some current top-tier artists who seem to be at the peak of their careers will, a few years later, due to tax issues or moral problems, either fade out of the spotlight, be blacklisted, or even be sent to prison. My predictions of movie box office are the most accurate on the whole network. When I say an artist is going to have trouble, no matter how stubbornly their fans attack me, something will definitely happen to that artist within a few months. I became completely famous and was called the barometer of the entertainment industry in the self-media. I have over 10 million followers. Later, many entertainment companies came to me to promote their works, and even invited me to serve as a senior executive in their companies. I agreed and joined Qingtian Entertainment, the largest entertainment company in the country. At first I was in charge of artist training and planning, but I was so capable that I would rather break the contract in advance than cooperate with those artists who would later turn out to be of bad conduct. The company saved hundreds of millions of losses. Otherwise, the films produced could not be released. I also helped the company select several projects with soaring box office, such as Naja, Birth of the Demon Child, The Wandering Earth, and Full River Red, making the company earn a fortune. So now I have been promoted from an artist supervisor to the executive president and hold 15% of the company's shares. I have the right of veto in the board of directors. Thanks to the entertainment industry, although I'm not married yet, I can date many handsome boyfriends. So it's wrong to say that my nephew has no connections in the entertainment industry. I am the biggest connection. My current status in the entertainment industry, saying I'm the Xishi of the entertainment industry, is an exaggeration, but saying I'm the Zhen Huan of the entertainment industry is not an overstatement. Now, as long as I want, I can easily make an ordinary person popular. With a word from me, a dozen heavenly kings and queens can play supporting roles for a commoner. When I say a script will be a hit, famous directors, best actors, and best actresses will immediately flock to it. But these things are unknown to my mother, my brother, sister, in-law, and nephew, because I use a pen name when writing movie reviews online. And when I became a senior executive, I don't show my face and never accept media interviews. Only those with enough influence know of my existence, while ordinary people in the entertainment industry with insufficient influence have no idea who I am. Ask them to come to the conference room. In the conference room, I saw my mother whom I hadn't seen for 3 years. Time is truly like a magic wand. Rich people get younger and younger like me. Poor people look more and more worn out like my mother. She had a tough time these 3 years. At this moment, my mother's hair was gray and she was trembling, seemingly having aged more than a dozen years. My brother also looked weather-beaten. The one who had changed the most was my nephew. He was wearing a tight-fitting emerald green suit and pants, his hair dyed red, with thick foundation on his face to cover his sunken nose. He wasn't wearing sunglasses, revealing his exaggerated uneven eyes. My appearance stunned these people. What are you doing here? My sister-in-law asked me shrilly. Do you work here? Clean the toilets. My sister-in-law deliberately taunted. Sort of. I do odd jobs and manage some matters. My sister-in-law was about to continue with her sarcasm when the producer of the talent show came in and bowed to me respectfully. President. They were all dumbfounded. It took them half an hour to accept the fact that I was now a big shot in the entertainment industry. Then they performed the Sichuan opera skill of face changing. My sister-in-law flattered me. My brother tried to evoke a non-existent sibling bond from our childhood, and my nephew called me aunt affectionately. But I clearly remembered that when I came in just now, this kid spat at me. Only my mother maintained her dignity. She deliberately remained silent when she first saw me, as if she didn't know me. Now that she knew my strength, she still didn't speak, but the glances she stole from time to time betrayed her inner thoughts. She definitely hoped that I would soften first. I pretended not to notice. My brother and nephew fawned over me, naturally to fulfill my nephew's star dream. Now they were no longer satisfied with my nephew passing the audition. They hoped I would pull some strings and let my nephew debut directly, arranging for him movies, variety shows, and endorsements. Naturally, I refused with a smile. I have to be fair, just and just. I don't engage in under-the-table deals. My mother finally got anxious. I'm begging you for the first time. Don't be so difficult. Are you going to take care of your nephew's matter today or not? If you don't, I, an old woman, don't want to live anymore. I'll hang myself at the entrance of your company. My mother threatened me with her life. Did I care? I didn't. But I still agreed to pull strings and let my nephew enter the audition of The Ultimate Brother. The producer naturally didn't dare to object. Did I do this out of submission? No. I just provided an opportunity for my nephew to make a fool of himself in public. I flattered and bribed all the way, escorting my nephew to the final round of the competition. My nephew immediately became a topic of conversation in the entertainment industry. Since it was a 9-member boy group, except for my nephew, the others were all real-life handsome guys. So my nephew, who was talentless and ugly, was like a piece of excrement inlaid on a cake in the show. It was hard not to be noticed. He was ridiculed in groups. Who is this? So ugly like a car accident scene. Does he deserve to be in the group? Is this about showing beauty or ugliness? Is this group a human-animal combination? The mockery of my nephew's appearance was just the first round. Some kind-hearted netizens were still speaking up for my nephew. He's just ugly. What if he's a hidden master? Maybe he's good at singing and dancing. Yeah, the entertainment industry shouldn't just look at appearance. Inner qualities matter too. Unfortunately, my nephew's performance in the show slapped these well-intentioned netizens in the face. His singing was like a donkey braying, and his dancing was like having a fit. He was never on the beat. It would be okay if he just had no talent. But the key was that he also had no manners. Because this show not only filmed the performances on stage, but also had a lot of behind-the-scenes footage. In the leaked clips, my nephew was arrogant, vulgar, and rude, just like a hooligan. Why was my nephew so arrogant? Because his aunt was me. He regarded himself as the prince of Qingtian entertainment. Because his words often had to be muted, his lines were always intermittent. As long as the lip sync didn't match, the audience knew that my nephew was spouting nonsense again. Netizens were angry and started to protest. Why let this rotten apple spoil the whole barrel? Whose backstage is he relying on to debut? The people in the program group knew it was my arrangement and dared not say anything. Many senior entertainment reporters also knew it was my arrangement and likewise dared not report it. So netizens who didn't know the truth were even more curious. Let's put it this way. In just 1 month, my nephew had become the biggest clown in the entertainment industry. Ching Ching, did you deliberately make your nephew look ugly? Your heart is so dark. Some people on the internet said this. My mother might not understand, but my brother and sister-in-law knew. They came to me angrily to seek an explanation. I smiled. Wasn't it you who insisted on making him a star? The audience isn't blind. Can't they see what he's really like? If I dressed him up as a pretty boy, would anyone buy it? It's faster to just make him a clown. Don't be angry. Being popular for the wrong reasons is also a form of popularity. You can still make money. I was right. Although I deliberately made my nephew look ugly. In the entertainment industry, negative marketing, that is being popular for the wrong reasons, is also a way of hyping. For example, the once famous sister phone. Because my nephew was so special, his social media account had over 1 million followers in 1 month. Some businesses saw the business opportunity and came to talk to my nephew about business cooperation, asking him to promote products. Now my brother and sister-in-law were all smiles, saying that I really knew how to hype. My nephew was also very happy. Becoming a public figure not only satisfied his vanity, but also, in the previous life, he liked to be the top donor for an internet celebrity. Now that internet celebrity took the initiative to come and hype a CP with my nephew. My nephew was overjoyed and called me good aunt affectionately. But I knew that before God destroys someone, he first makes them go crazy. Everything I did was for revenge. I wanted those who had hurt me to taste the pain of getting everything, and then losing it all completely. 3 months after my nephew started promoting products, he had already earned hundreds of thousands of yuan. I arranged for him to play some comedic clown roles. After acting in these, his salary plus dividends made him a millionaire. With money, the family started to show off and take revenge on their past poor lives. My sister-in-law bought luxury goods crazily. My brother used to be honest because he had no money. Now that he had money, he actually kept a beauty salon owner as his mistress. Then, when they were having an affair, my sister-in-law unexpectedly received a message from a stranger and went to catch them. My brother was so scared that he hid on the balcony and accidentally fell from the 21st floor and died. I didn't shed a single tear. My mother and sister-in-law fought fiercely. My nephew didn't cry either when my brother died. Now that he had money, he not only indulged in eating, drinking, whoring, and gambling, but also picked up even worse habits. After about a year, it was almost time. I reported my nephew. Besides the crimes that violated criminal law, he also evaded taxes. My nephew was finished. Not only were all his assets confiscated, but he was also sentenced to 5 years in prison. Such a scumbag, only prison was his destination. After sending my nephew to prison, my mother and sister-in-law joined forces to curse at me. I smiled and said, I'm acting in the name of justice. In this life, let the bullet fly a little longer. In the last 5 years of my investment, my mother passed away. I buried her, and the entanglement between mother and daughter finally came to an end. 5 years later, I had become the major shareholder of Qingtian Entertainment. I still wasn't married, but I was living an even more comfortable life. He was released from prison. After he was released, the first thing he did was not come to take revenge on me, but to try to rekindle his relationship with that internet celebrity from the past. As expected, he was humiliated and rejected by the internet celebrity. In anger, my nephew tried to strangle the internet celebrity. The internet celebrity called the police. My nephew fled in a hurry, driving a stolen car, and running in the wrong direction crazily. He crashed into the moat. His mind was so stimulated that he became crazy. I visited him once. In the mental hospital, he always sang a song. I have horns on my head, I have a tail behind me. No one knows how many secrets I have. I'm a little green dragon. I have many little secrets. I won't tell you. I won't tell you. The end.